Have you ever found yourself wanting to start a new hobby like photography, but being completely discouraged by the price tag? I know I was. But I'm here to show you it doesn't have to be that way. I want to show you how to start off on the right foot, all while keeping your piggy bank intact. He'll thank you for it. So, without further ado, it's time to learn. So, because this is my very first episode, I really want to talk about a subject very near and dear to my heart. It's me! I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. I am going to talk about me, but it's not really my favorite subject. To be honest, I really don't like being in front of the camera. This is a little nerve-wracking. Okay, that's probably too much information. Anyway, I am going to talk a little bit about me. I'm going to talk about my family, and I'm really going to talk about why I became a photographer in the first place, and why I decided to do this YouTube channel. And then I'll probably get a little bit into some of the cameras that I use. We're not gonna go in great depth of those because I'll save that for later. Gotta keep it coming back for more. All right, so like I said, I'm gonna talk a little bit about myself. I'm not gonna go great detail or anything, but my name is Katie. The channel's named Witty because my last name is Witt. I live in the Midwest, and I always have. I've grown up in a few different places, and I moved quite a bit, but it's always been in the Midwest. I currently reside at a home with my husband, this guy, and our 4 fur children, which I will now try to find. All right, so this is fur child number 1. This is Mika, and she's a 6-year-old Shih Tzu, and she snorts like a pig. Okay, there you go. Okay, here's the other one. He's a 4-year-old bull mastiff named Thor, and he's very heavy, so I'm gonna put him down. This is Tommy the cat. He doesn't mind being held too much like a baby. He gets angry after a while though, don't you? Yeah. I don't know how old he is. I think he's 3 or 4 or something like that, but that's Tommy the cat. Oh, the fur. Oh, the fur. We also have another cat named Loki. I don't know where he is right now. He's probably roaming around the house, but he's a little more skittish than the rest of them. The rest of them are pretty social, so as I have Thor at my feet right now. All right, now on to the good part. Let's talk about how did I get my start in photography. All right, where should we begin? So, Dad, I've been thinking, I want to start photography because I don't think there's enough pictures of old abandoned buildings and, you know, like churches and railroads and things. So, can I have a camera? Thanks, Dad! But honestly, I still shoot a lot of that stuff now. I like to shoot old abandoned buildings, farmhouses, railroads, whatever I can find. So I started at the age of 18 with a 35mm Minolta that broke. It was kind of my fault, I think. It was a long time ago. And then I bought another one, but then I gave it away. So I don't have any of my original 35mm, but that's okay. I've moved on to other cameras so I can learn from those as well. Currently though, I am shooting with a Canon AE1, which I'll get into a little bit later. The reason I'm telling you this is because I started with 35mm black and white film on a purely mechanical camera. And I'm gonna do the same thing with you all. Now, whether that's something you're looking forward to or not, maybe you can skip my next few videos. But I will say it really is important to understand how to shoot manual. So, if you're looking to learn the basics of a mechanical camera, shooting black and white film, 35mm specifically, at the beginning, then stick with me because that's what we're gonna do in the beginning. So, like I said before, I shoot on a variety of different types of cameras, anywhere from film to digital, 35mm, 120mm. I've even shot on 4x5 film. They're ridiculously large, and there's no way I can lug that around, nor can I honestly afford it. So I don't have one. But what I do have is this 35mm Canon AE1. So I haven't really shot on this thing much. I just recently got it, but this is gonna be my primary single lens reflex, or SLR, 35mm camera. So I'll get into this more, but I just wanted to show you this is what I'm gonna use for most of my 35mm film. So I bought this camera maybe about a year or two ago. It was definitely before the pandemic hit, and I have to say it's been one of my favorite purchases so far, and it's the Rollei 35. This particular one I think was made in Singapore because it says right here, but there's also ones made in Germany as well. And like I said, I'm not gonna go too far into this camera because it's a rabbit hole. Look how tiny it is. Aww. It's tiny like me. It actually does shoot really well. You do have to get used to it a little bit. Again, I'm not gonna go into it, which I'm having a really hard time not getting into it right now, but I do love this camera. So later video, I'll go into this tiny little camera, which I love a whole bunch. All right, so next up, my Mamiya. Oh, this thing's a little heavy. I really love this camera. I bought it several years ago. It's probably one of my favorite cameras, but I'm realizing I'm saying that about all of them, but this really is. What's really cool about this though is it's a top-down viewer. So when you're taking images, you're actually looking down at the viewer. You do have a little magnifier here as well, but it shoots 120 film. But like I said, I'm not gonna get huge into this camera right now just because I'll go into it later, but I do really enjoy this camera, so. All right, so next up on the list. Some of you may judge me for this, but Polaroid is all the rage. I will say I probably bought the Polaroid around it really starting to pick back up. There for a while, they didn't even sell Polaroid film, so I'm really happy that they do now. I will also say that Polaroids are a dime a dozen. Now, certain ones are and certain ones aren't, and this one is a little harder to find and a little more expensive, but again, most of these cameras aren't outrageous. I mean, this one was, I think, under $100. So this is the SX70. Again, it shoots Polaroid. They do make Polaroid now, like brand new Polaroid, so you don't have to use some crazy expired film, which can be fun, but this camera is a lot of fun to shoot with. This is fairly recent to me. I've only had it for a couple of years. And this is definitely one of those cameras that if you're not looking for something pristine, as in the image, this might be the one for you. However, if you are looking for something pristine, this is definitely not the camera for you. This is an instant Polaroid camera. It's very basic. Of course, you have your shutter, you have your focus, which is very basic, and then you have light and dark. So you kind of just have to eyeball it. But like I said, it's really fun to shoot with. It's also a bit of a challenge to get it right, and the film is also a little bit expensive, so it's really just kind of a fun camera to have around. It's pretty compact, so I like taking it on trips with me sometimes, so, but I do really like it a lot. Okay, last but not least, the big camera. The one I'm actually shooting with, which I can't show you because I don't have multiple versions of this camera. The one that I'm shooting on right now is a Canon 5D SR. Now, it is a full frame camera and it is a little expensive. However, it's definitely not the most expensive. It is a little older. It's a great camera all around. It's a little heavier because it's full frame, but it shoots great images. Now, I will also say that I've upgraded some of my lenses as well. They can get expensive, but again, I'm just now doing that, and I started photography at the age of 18. So I've been doing this for a couple of years. A lady never reveals her age. But needless to say, I've been doing this for over 15 years. I'm only saying that because I bought several cameras over the years, and this is one that it took me a little bit to build up to. I typically keep my cameras for a few years, and this is one where I'd had the last camera for 4 to 5 years. So again, it takes time to build up to these things. What I'm gonna show you doesn't necessarily mean that you have to start on that camera, but it is within budget, reasonably so. If you're a part-time photographer, a hobbyist, even if you're a full-time and you wanna go crazy with this stuff. Again, Canon 5D SR, I'll get into it a little more later in another video, but that is the digital that I shoot with. So that's the kind of equipment that I have for right now. As I continue to grow the collection, which I'm sure I'll do, I'll make sure to add videos for those items as well. I want to say that I really appreciate you guys sticking around for this video. Like I said, since this is my very first video, it's a little different than what the rest will be, but next we're going to talk about the essential equipment that you're going to need to start your hobby or career or just side job in photography. So make sure that you stick around because that's what's going to be coming up next. Also, if you're looking for awesome gear like the shirt that I'm wearing, make sure to check out my store. I've got some shirts on there, a hat, a sticker, and I'm going to continue to add more as well. Thanks again, guys.